Okay. Hello and welcome to this webinar on business model innovation in the American marketplace. This is a Future Watch report for Team Finland. My name is Chris Coulter, and I'm from a consultancy called GlobeScan that focuses on global stakeholder research.
And my name is Lindsay Clinton. I'm a director at Sustainability, a think tank and consulting firm focused on transforming corporate leadership on the sustainability agenda.
And both GlobeScan and Sustainability work together with Tekes and the Finnish Trade Center to help understand and express the trends that are happening in the American marketplace. And we have an agenda here today to share with you in this brief 15-minute webinar where we'll give you an overview of the approach we took in the study, and I will take us through the demand side, what consumers think in the American marketplace today. Lindsay will take us through the supply side and focus on business model innovation, and we'll end with some implications for business. This webinar is part of a larger research project, and the full report is available on the website, and we encourage you to review it and look at all the full detail that's available in the reports. So we approached this project with the objective of trying to understand the shifts occurring in the American marketplace from two dimensions, one being the demand side. What are consumers expecting of business? How are they interacting with companies in the marketplace? What are the trends that are driving forward the future consumer needs and wants? And then also from the supply side, what are the new types of business models that are occurring in different types of companies, large and small, in the U.S., and how are those models important to understand the potential future opportunities for Finnish companies operating in the U.S. market? And I'll begin with the demand side and focus on getting to know the American consumer. We've been doing lots of research in the U.S. and around the world for many years, and there are some important overarching trends that are critical to understand. First of all, Americans have great and increasing expectations for business, for doing things beyond the traditional role that business does. So while product and service quality and customer service are critical, there are a whole host of other expectations that take us into uncharted territory related to social expectations, environmental expectations, and economic expectations for business. And the challenge here is that while those expectations are rising for business to do more, trust levels in companies are low and declining. That's a big challenge. We also see a trend in consumers that they understand that consuming less is an objective and a requirement, and consuming less from a footprint perspective and a sustainability perspective, and a focus much more on consuming better. How can we change our consumption patterns in ways that still delight us and give us all the value we want from experiences in the marketplace, but do it in a way with a stronger sense of responsibility? How do we become more responsible consumers without losing some of the real enjoyments from consumption? And we know when we look at the drivers of sustainable consumption among American consumers, there are critical elements related to the perception of price. Sometimes when things are more sustainable or positioned more sustainable, there's an expectation for higher levels of price. And I think we can look at more disruptive approaches to that price sustainability equation. There are historical concerns around performance, that sustainable products and services don't perform as strongly as other types of products, so we need to be very wary when we're trying to position or discuss sustainability with consumers, that there is an equal focus on quality in the marketplace, and credibility. And the low trust in business makes it very difficult sometimes for companies to engage and communicate effectively with consumers. So credibility requires a deep engagement, a very open, transparent approach to conversations with consumers. Fourth, we have critical areas that companies need to focus on. Water, health, fairness, jobs, these are all thematics that American consumers in particular are focused on. and finding solutions and opportunities in those areas are smart for companies trying to grow in the American marketplace. And finally, the collaboration participation piece is exciting, new, and growing, where consumers want to be part of the conception and innovation of what businesses are doing to try and address some of the broader social, environmental, and economic challenges facing the world and the U.S. And to try and understand more deeply and rigorously the demand side of the American marketplace, we've conducted a very innovative segmentation that we did with sustainability and a brand agency called BBMG, where we looked at the consumer marketplace in the U.S. from two dimensions, one being materialism, and that's the vertical dimension, where we're looking at consumers that are very focused on brand engagement, who think, seek style and design-oriented products and services, that love to shop, and consuming is an important reflection of who they are. And a second dimension that we have labeled sustainability, which relates to how consumers appreciate and are concerned about social and environmental issues largely. And we see four segments, and we have a segment in the top right-hand quadrant that we've labeled the aspirationals, which we see as the very exciting opportunity in the American marketplace to try and drive engagement and build new brand affinity. These consumers are concerned about sustainability, but they're also quite open to conversations with companies and engagement with brands to try and find solutions in those areas, and they're looking for brands that are meaningful and can demonstrate purpose beyond a transactional relationship with them as consumers. And this is an important discovery for companies trying to market in the U.S. market, because it's a large segment. So over 30% of Americans are aspirationals. They're a little bit wealthier, a little bit more educated. They're younger. They're certainly millennial and Gen Xers, but they're also some segments, parts of the segment are older and senior citizens even. And they tend to be culturally influential, which is very exciting, that they influence the practicals and to a lesser extent the advocates on consumer trends and new dynamics shaping the marketplace. So they're an important future orientation and early adopters of where things are going. They're also quite urban and quite female in orientation. So there's an important demographic dimension that's critical to understand, which is outlined in the report in great detail. And they're everywhere. We see the aspirationals are not only located in the U.S. market, 34% of Americans are aspirationals, but they're across the world. So any export strategy that Finnish companies have in the U.S. market could also be quite applicable in other markets going forward. And there's a strong business case to orient purpose and sustainability with some of your fundamental offerings to your customers in the U.S. market. Let's shift over to the supply side, and we'll have Lindsay take us through the introduction to various business models.
Great. Thanks, Chris. So Chris has talked a lot about what's happening on the demand side, and what I'd like to walk us through is what's happening on the supply side and take a closer look at the business models that are in some cases meeting the consumer demand that Chris outlined, or in other cases they are models that are anticipating future consumer wants and needs. So to fully understand what's happening on the supply side, we first have to define what we're looking for. What is a business model and what is a business model innovation? There are many definitions in the academic literature, but the one that we like best because of its simplicity is one put forth by Alex Osterwalder. It is how a company creates, delivers, and captures value. And pictured on this slide is his business model canvas, which illustrates that a business model is a combination of who your customers are, your key resources, your value propositions, et cetera. It's the entire activity system of your business. So using that definition of business model, we can then begin to define what is a business model innovation. It is, in essence, a shift in the way that you are creating, delivering, or capturing value. So that can be a change in the way that you transact with customers, with suppliers, with employees, with the owners of the business or with the community, but it's important to look up and down your value chain and identify those areas of transaction, and that's how you can identify areas where innovation can happen and where you can shift the way that you're creating, delivering, and capturing value. So for this work, we are specifically exploring companies that are demonstrating business model innovation for sustainability. So today we're going to be talking about innovations that lead to better social or environmental outcomes. At Sustainability, we use this simple framework to understand the different kinds of innovation that a company can experience and demonstrate. So there's process innovation, product innovation, and business model innovation. And as you move out along this chart, you'll see that you start to provide more value back to your business and more value back to society as you pursue these different levels of innovation. So to date, many companies have realized the merits of transforming their products and processes to become more sustainable. Some companies have rethought their processes by incorporating renewable energy sources into their inputs or certifying their products as more sustainable. Others have worked on revamping their products to be more effective and more efficient or made with safer, greener materials. And in some instances, that's changed consumer behavior, which is really powerful. But these kinds of innovations, process innovations and product innovations, will only get us so far. And what we think we need are not just better processes and products, but fundamentally different ways of doing business, different business models. We need companies whose underlying structures are at worst zero negative impact and at best regenerative and restorative. So in the slides that follow, I'm going to present just a few of the innovative business models that go beyond process and product innovation to have a social or environmental impact. So the first model is closed-loop production, and these models are presenting tremendous opportunities for companies that want to cut costs and also meet sustainability waste goals while significantly impacting the entire system in which they operate. We've seen several Fortune 500 companies like Maersk or Alcoa or Nike who are experimenting with a closed-loop concept at a product level, and that could kind of be a sign of further innovation at the business model level in the marketplace. What happens in this model is that the material used to create the product is continually recycled through the production system, and every effort is made to reduce waste, and the elements that can't be eliminated are recaptured and reused or biodegraded and composted. So what we're really seeing is that this model is upsetting the traditional linear take, make, waste production pattern that most manufacturing industries rely upon. The example that we've given here is a company called Novelis. It's an aluminum company headquartered in Georgia, and they are the global leader in rolled aluminum products. So those products are beverage cans, architectural structures, consumer electronics. So Novelis has set a very ambitious goal to reach 80% of its aluminum that it uses to be made of recycled materials by 2020. They are currently sourcing recycled aluminum at 43%, so they still have a ways to go, but they've set this very ambitious target, and they're doing that through an almost entirely closed-loop business model. That means they're sourcing more recycled aluminum, they're coordinating post-production scrap take-back, and they're building more of their own recycling operations and processing facilities. So this is a really great demonstration of this model in action. The next example is called inclusive sourcing, and it's a model that has a lot of social impact if it's done well. So as companies start to consider the impacts that they have outside of their core operations, one of the first things they start to look at is their supply chain. And some companies start by setting standards and conducting audits to make sure that they're starting to move towards sustainable sourcing. But other companies are going even further, and they are creating inclusive supply chains that actually support the producer or the farmer that provides the product, whether it's palm oil or sustainable timber or local organic produce. And it's not just about buying that product that's sourced, it's actually about supporting that producer. And as a result, the companies that do this can end up creating a more stable supply chain. They can build brand loyalty and create a more economically empowered consumer base. So it can have a really dramatic social impact in the communities in which it takes effect. So Walmart has actually been doing this for several years, since about 2010. They have had a goal to cut out middlemen and to source more directly from farmers and producers. And the result of that is that you have fresher, more local produce getting to customers and shoppers, and you also have farmers getting 10 to 15% more profit than they did before, because there's not the middleman who's actually there taking some of that share. And it's also ended up strengthening local farms and local economies in some places. So really interesting to see Walmart doing that. They're not just doing it in developing countries, they're also doing it here in the U.S. with local farmers who are practicing organic techniques. And the last model I wanted to feature today is called the alternative marketplace. And the alternative marketplace can have diverse impacts. Sometimes it's social, sometimes it's environmental. This one might be a little bit harder to get your heads around, but basically the concept of that a firm is circumventing the traditional method of transaction or inventing a new kind of transaction that is unleashing untapped value. So alternative marketplaces can reveal unused resources, create new channels for exchange, and often these models are dependent upon technology. They use the internet to make a new marketplace more transparent, or they use cell phones to transform airtime into money. But ultimately, alternative marketplaces are providing a platform for exchange that is matching unused supply and unmet demand. So one interesting example of this is a company out of Ohio called One More Pallet. So this small and growing business offers name your price shipping to small businesses that don't need their own huge trucks to ship their product. And according to One More Pallet, nearly 30% of each freight truck on the road runs empty. And so this company is actually enabling their clients to bid on empty truck space and for trucking companies to fill the empty spaces in their loads and increase their profits. And as a result, the shipping system becomes more efficient and the number of trucks on the road decreases. So this model is really interesting and I think one to watch. It's one that we've only seen a few companies actually demonstrate, but it'll be interesting to see how other companies end up using this model in the future. So these are just a handful of the models that we've actually profiled in our larger research report, and if you're interested in learning more, I would recommend that you refer to the larger report to start to learn about some of the other models that we've researched and featured as well. Now, jumping to what this really means for your business. We hope that these business model innovations and examples will inspire you and spur your own creativity as you look across your value chain for areas of opportunity and transformation. And as you're thinking about how to go about business model innovation, we would ask that you keep in mind the following 5 takeaways. First is to consider the full set of relationships in every part of your value chain so that you can uncover opportunities for business model innovation. So think about where your transactions are occurring, whether it's with customers or with suppliers or with employees, the way that you incentivize your salespeople, the way that you work with your investors, the way that you work in communities. All of those areas are opportunities for business model innovation and possibly creating more social or environmental impact. Next is ensure that no matter what business model you use, that you deliver practical benefits through your products and services. This is a pretty basic takeaway, but it's just important to make sure that at the end of the day, you are providing a benefit to your customer through whatever you're producing or whatever service you're providing. Next is to remember, as Chris was telling us in the first part of this presentation, that consumers really want to connect with companies and brands at a deeper level. And so there is an opportunity to do a lot of storytelling and demonstrate that you have purpose through social and environmental solutions. and to really tell that story well and use that as a way to connect with consumers who do want to have a stronger relationship with the brands that they're buying. Next is to realize the power of networks in building your business. So as we look at the popularity of models like the sharing economy or crowdsourcing, they're very dependent upon social networks, and it's just a sign that the data indicates there's greater demand for products that are connecting people with friends, family, and communities, and that there's definitely an opportunity there. And lastly, brands that embrace collaboration can experience deeper engagement on the issues that matter most and obtain richer outcomes. And that one kind of speaks for itself. So that's it for our presentation today. I would encourage you to please contact us if you have questions or if you'd like to explore further what the U.S. marketplace holds for your business, either from the standpoint of understanding the demand side data that Chris spoke about, or exploring business model innovation ideas and opportunities with sustainability. Thank you so much.